Go on, it is Wednesday, September 22nd.
Yep.
Go me. Advanced class, we're going to finish talking about kitty cat story. I now officially have calendar thingy over there, so those of you who are seeing on big screen, you should be able to see calendar thingy over there. It's also got pencil sharpener thing over there. You have your choice of pencil sharpeners, pencil sharpener yonder or pencil sharpener yonder, whichever one works best for you. Calendaring thingy, I had to change it slightly from what it was before in the other ones. Now, if I have homework that is due, you guys are over here, it'll be written at the top of the day, Homework that is assigned on a day is written at the bottom of it. So like today, your only homework is to read Charles. Tomorrow we're going to do the Boy World one. But in theory, we're going to get all of Boy World done in class. It's like a one-day thing. It's a really short story. It's your last sort of practice on your own before you have to go take a quizzy thing from there. Did I answer your question, Mia? You look really thirsty today. Carter!
Why are you going to be out?
Did I say I was going to be out?
No.
Problem solved. And then to there, weekly calendar has been created, homework from there, pencil sharpener, we're going to go to there. And I think that covers all the busy things. And then this thing. So this is already on Canvas, and then it's also going to be on Canvas. I will send it out on Reminds next week as far as that thing goes for each day. I'm also going to take Monday to explain a wee bit about this thing called House Points. It's a competition between us and the Globetrotters and the Stars to see which team is the best. I have not had a chance to get into it. You score house points every time you do good kid things for the school. Like if you join a sports team, cross country, tennis, football, you've automatically earned house points. If you are on math counts or you're in this fall play, you get house points. If you dress up for this thing, you get house points. And whichever team has the most house points wins a trophy. I'll explain more coming up on Monday. For me, if you dress up all 5 days, you get candy on Friday. I'll go out and buy like Blow Pops or something like that, or Tootsie Roll Pops or some kind of sugary thing. But you have to hit all 5 days to get to it. And you cannot wussy globetrotter your days. You have to actually like fully dress up on it. Like for Monday, where it's hat day, you can't wear a hoodie and then put your hoodie up and be like, yeah, it's a hat. I'm like, no, globetrotter, you're wrong. Just like on Thursday for the suicide prevention yellow day, you can't go, look, there's a yellow spot. Oh my God. I'll go, no, globetrotter, bad shot. So you have to actually fully commit to it. Friday, on twin day, if you are a twin, that does you no good. You are dressing identical to someone else. And so I have to be able to see you and other child and see the fact that you have dressed identical to each other. You can either do it in person, like if you're in the same class, that's easy. But if you twin with a kid in another class, I'm going to have to see you at the same time because I'm not going to memorize you. If it's a globetrotter or a star or one of those 8th gradery people, then you're going to want to bring them to my room, or you're going to want to take a picture of them and then show it to me, something along those lines. And it has to be like a definite, you have dressed the same thing, not, we're both wearing clothes today. Because again, I'll go, no, globetrotter, bad child. Still enough, you keep waving at me. Did I answer your questions, or are you just getting patient?
Whatever you're getting, can it be friendly for braces?
Yeah.
Because a lot of children have braces.
I know, I'm aware. And usually I'll try and give you an option of like 2 things to try and make life a little bit better. Bowen!
Say true in my mind, we twins. Could we go twinning if we had no clothes on?
Are there any other questions? Did we cover them? Good to go there. And the answer, of course, is yes, but I want to see you get all the way to 3rd period having that happen. So if you can get to 3rd period like that, absolutely. I wish you the best of luck. All right. So I was going to say we're good, but I know this class is not good, so that's not where we are at all. I guess we'll get to real learning bits to make sure we get through stuff for you guys today. Foreshadowing. What's our definition of foreshadowing?
Clues in the story to help you figure out the end.
And as we're getting closer, some of you guys are already, by the way, did you guys do your homework last night?
No.
What was your homework last night?
Nothing.
No.
To not read. So hopefully you did your homework, which was not reading. If you read, then you didn't do your homework, which probably... That's not irritating in the slightest as far as the homework bits go from there. So yeah, some of you guys are already starting to get guesses as to where things might be going in the story. Although most of you probably did not quite guess what was going to happen to the little kitty cat, or the second time to the kitty cat, or the new kitty cat. But we'll keep trying to surprise you as we get into it from there. Let's see. With story. Point of view. What's point of view in story? First person, because what pronoun does he use?
I.
Do we know the main character's name?
No.
Correct. We don't.
His name's I.
I think they're sawing through metal right now, which is just the best thing ever. So all we know is that he refers to himself as I, and that is it. We never find out his name the entire time. And his name is not Edgar, in case you were trying to figure that out, because Edgar Allan Poe is different than the author, or different than the character in the story. They're just a different person. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a lot of stories in first person that were not him. It was just, he liked that point of view. Hi, Carter.
What are those for?
That's the air conditioning vents.
So.
Right, Sam?
For all we know, it could actually be Edgar Allan Poe.
It could be, except what do we find out at the very beginning?
Yeah, he dies.
And
Maybe he escapes and then becomes a poet.
yeah, except for that part, and then the part that's going to be coming up also, and the part where he was married, and the part where he had a monkey. Except for all of the evidence that's in front of us, you're right. It could be him.
He
How
faked his
silly
death
of
and
me.
became a poet.
Yes. It seems like you nailed it. Let's see. So we have, and then main character. Wait, what do we find out about? What good thing do we find out about his personality at the beginning?
He loves animals.
He loves animals. And then he's married. And how does his wife feel about them?
He loves animals.
Also loves animals. And then he begins making a poor choice. And the poor choice is,
Stabbing cat.
and that's apparently not the stabbing of the cat yet. Just settle down with your excitement. Is where the alcohol comes in. And then after we introduce alcohol, what kind of an alcoholic is he?
Angry.
That was frighteningly accurate. I agree. He was, I mean, given there's no real good alcoholic, but yes, he was a bad alcoholic, a mean and grumpy one. Who does he take his mean grumpiness out on? And his wife. Don't forget her, because that is definitely going to play a role coming up today. And then also the animals. And then what is the first poor choice he makes with Mr. Meow Meow?
He takes out a steak.
And that's when he makes Mr. Meow Meow Captain Winky Face. And he turns him into Captain Winky Face. And then, wait, does he feel bad about it?
No.
Kinda.
He says the words, I feel bad about it. But typically, if you feel bad about it, you stop doing a thing. Does he stop doing a thing? So that does not imply a whole lot of actual feeling bad. So then he decides to double down on his not feeling bad. And second bad thing he does is,
Kills the cat.
how does he kill Kitty?
Hangs
He gives the kitty a necktie. Gives the kitty a necktie, hangs him from tree. But then, what happens the same day?
His house burns down.
You
house
sound
burns
excited
down.
about that, which I understand. House burns down, which apparently is a bit of a bummer for him. But someone tried to wake him up. And how'd they try to wake him? Ah, you guys have done this before yourself. They tried to wake him up by throwing Kitty through the window. Taylin?
Who would hang a cat? Like, that's such a weird way to kill a cat.
Yeah, just stab
Agreed.
each other up.
But, I mean, at the same time, who would stab a cat in the eye? I mean,
I know, but like, why, if you were wanting to kill a cat, couldn't you just like step on it or like throw it?
That's easy answer.
Like, why would you want to hang it?
That's too messy.
I personally do not have a list of ways to kill cats.
Here's how
Taylin, I appreciate you going through your checklist of ways that you know how to do
Here's
so.
how you kill a cat without causing a mess. You put it in a box, drill the box.
No,
shut,
no,
bury
no,
it.
we're not going into spooky details. We're just going to let it go right there.
I'm not done.
I don't want to have any more nightmares than knowing the fact that I have more than one child in my class who has a list of ways to kill animals. We're just going to go ahead and move on from that point right now.
It's the least
okay.
messy way. It's the way.
So, yeah, I don't know why he chose that particular one, except for it works out later in the story when someone throws it through the window.
Yep.
Bowen.
What's your age demographic for YouTube?
So we then have someone who woke him up or tried to wake him up by throwing him through. Then in-house, what surprising thing happens inside house?
Only one wall remains.
The one wall remains, and what's on that wall?
The cat.
And that's where kind of the cat is the impression of a cat of someone going to Captain Winky Face and went smooshy smooshy into the wall and then pulled it back and then, ooh, I forgot. What was his reasoning for doing the second act of killing the cat? Because it connects to you guys.
Because he knew he shouldn't do it.
There you go. much like you guys who know not to interrupt class and ask about why my YouTube demographic may be a certain thing, in your heart you know that's not the right question to ask. But I'm assuming you're channeling the story where it says that sometimes you have this irrational desire to do a thing you should not do, like talking about different ways to kill cats, and your brain's like, don't do that. And you're like, brain, shut up, I'm doing it anyway. And you go ahead and just push right through it. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's why it happened in the story. And so now it's like you guys are just demonstrating the thing right there in the story. Hi, Carter.
You realize he could have been so drunk that he didn't even remember him burning the house down himself, and then taking the cat off the leash and swishing it into the wall as revenge of from whatever.
I mean,
And then him putting out the fire around the wall to cause publicity stunt.
yes, that is absolutely, I mean,
Hashtag
what's
relatable.
scary is that's as logical as what he comes up with. Is his idea of someone throwing it through a window to wake him up and it getting smashed against it. I can't go, no, that's dumb. Nope, it makes as much sense as his idea does. So, yeah, I'm going to have to roll with you on that one. So, let's see. Now he goes to a new house, which we're going to get to coming up here in a moment. And then now that he got rid of that kitty cat, what does he do now that he got rid of the first kitty cat?
There's another cat.
He finds new kitty cat. New kitty cat. Where does he find new kitty cat?
In a bar.
In a bar where everyone goes pet shopping. Everyone, as you go to different bars to find your new kitty cats. And then we find out something about this new kitty cat is kind of spooky, which is...
There's a white spot on his chest.
That's not spooky yet. That's coming up in a little bit.
It's missing an eye.
There you go. This is it. Captain Winky Face the second, and then we also have the white splotch. The white splotch is what makes it different than the thing that makes it kind of creepy is the fact that it's also Captain Winky Face. We can just tell it's a different Captain Winky Face because of the white splotch, which may be leftover wall plaster from getting stuck against the wall, and when the kitty was like, meow, and then pushed itself off, some of the plaster stuck on its chest, according to my fourth grade. Bowen.
Or it's like the ash from the fire.
That could work too. I mean, we're full of all kinds of interesting things that are happening in the story. So now, let's go further into our poor choice seminar. So we're on the back side where it says, let's see, how does he feel about New Kitty? I forgot that part. He's scared of it and he hates it. How does Cat feel about him? And loves him and gives him little purrs and rubs against him and he was like, I hate you, Kitty. Of course, I think that's just how cats are because we have 2 cats in my house. And it doesn't matter like how mean you are to the cat. The cat's like, purr, purr. And it comes over and like tries to trip you when you walk down the stairs. And the cat's like, I love you to death as it tries to trip you. So, I mean, that might be a cat issue. Carter.
Why are you going to be out tomorrow?
Am I going to be out tomorrow? I didn't say tomorrow. You just keep going though. I'll let you know when I answer you. All right. So back to our story from here. We should be third paragraphy thing down where it says, my wife had called. And now we get to talk about the little white splotchy thing. My wife had called my attention more than once to the shape of the mark of white hair, and which was the only visible difference between the strange beast and the one I had destroyed. The reader will remember that this mark, although large, had been originally quite indefinite, as in big splotchy thing. But by slow degrees nearly unnoticeable, in which, for a long time, my brain struggled to reject as simply imagination, its outline had taken on a more definite shape. It was now the depiction of an object that I shudder to name, and for this, above all, I loathed and dreaded and would have rid myself of the monster had I dared. It was now, I say, the image of a ghastly thing, of the gallows, O mournful and terrible engine of horror and crime, of agony and of death. To understand his emotion, you have to know what the gallows are. Do you know what the gallows are?
Yes.
You do, because you played a game. There's a child's game that involves this death toy. That almost every child, I guarantee, has played a game involving this death toy.
Fidget spinner.
Oh!
That too.
Because what game do kids play involving this death toy?
Hangman.
Hangman. The gallows is what you draw to begin a hangman. It's the little hangman-y thing. That's what a gallows is. So the little white splotch that looked like this over the course of time begins to slowly shift to look like this. Meow. Onto little kitty cat's chest. Oh wait, the cat's not right. Meow. There we go. And so now he has this design on his little chest. Why does that freak the guy out? Because he used that on first kitty cat, and now all of a sudden this one was only different was a little white splotch, and now the white splotch looks just like the other cat, except it has a little thing on there. So now that's why he's starting to freak out. Oh yeah, and what do we find out happens to him tomorrow?
He died.
And where is he currently?
In prison.
So he's in prison and he dies tomorrow, and now the cat's coming at him with a little gallows thing on his little kitty chest. Now, let's get to the rising action. Beneath the pressure of torments such as these, the frail remains of the good that was within me gave way. Evil thoughts became my only comforts. The darkest and most evil of thoughts, the moodiness of my usual attitude increased into a hatred of all living things and of all mankind. And my uncomplaining wife was the most usual and the most patient of sufferers of these outbursts. One day, she accompanied me upon some household errand into the basement of the old building which our poverty forced us to live in. The cat followed me down the steep stairs and, nearly tripping me, infuriated me into madness, lifting a nearby axe and forgetting in my wrath the childish dread which had so far stopped me. I aimed a blow at the animal which, of course, would have proved instantly fatal had it gone as I wished. But this blow was stopped by the hand of my wife. Aggravated by the interference into a blinding rage, I withdrew my arm from her grasp and buried the axe in her brain. She fell dead upon the spot without even a groan.
What a good story.
Oopsie. So, trying to go down the stairs, Cat starts to trip him. He gets grumpy at Cat. So how does he decide to teach Cat a lesson?
Kill it.
We've all been there when you chase the cat around the house with an axe, but he's prevented from doing so. And what stops him? His wife, who's like, "Hey, that's not how you treat kitty cats." And of course, he thanks her. And how does he thank her?
By cutting their head in
And
half.
so he gives her a haircut.
Wonderful.
And so apparently, this is why you should never give someone a haircut with an axe, because apparently it does not end well, or with a cat around. Carter.
Haircut was a hair or two too deep.
I know. Well, I mean, he's not good at it. That's why you go to professionals. So now we have an issue. Apparently, murder is bad. So now we're going to have to solve that particular issue.
Apparently.
Carter.
Why aren't you going to be here tomorrow?
Oh, because the hideous murder accomplished, I set about the task of concealing the body. You know, what you do after you kill your wife in your basement. I knew that I could not remove it from the house, words are hard, either by day or by night, without the risk of being seen by the neighbors. Many ideas entered my mind. At one period, I thought of cutting the corpse into tiny pieces and destroying it by fire. At another, I resolved to dig a grave for it in the floor of the basement. Then I hit upon what I considered a far better method. I determined to wall it up in the cellar, as the monks of the Middle Ages are thought to have walled up their victims. So now he has to get rid of the body, as you do after you kill a person, and you can't just take it out of the house because that's not going to work. You can't burn it because people are going to find out. You can't just bury it in the basement because people are going to find out that way. So he decides instead he's going to put it in the wall of his house because genius. Still no?
Why are people going to find out if you burn it?
Well, because apparently when you're married to someone and they just suddenly disappear, people find that suspicious. When you're just like, "Oh, is it Tuesday? Yeah, she's gone. She'll be back never." For some reason, that makes people a little on the sussy side. There's this game you can play where you run around and kill people in a spaceship. It's sort of the same idea. That when someone suddenly dies, other people get suspicious of it. Still enough.
Yeah, but if they're suspicious and if you burn the body, then there's no evidence of
But then you can't get a fire hot enough to burn bone. You can only burn the flesh, and you have a pile of bones. And what do you do with that?
You can get
To
a
get a
hot-
fire that hot, you have to have special chemicals, which he probably doesn't have.
Also, what if
But
that's what
apparently,
happened to
there's a
the
couple
rest of
people in the room you could talk to who have ways of disposing of things. But that's a conversation for another day.
Too bad. They're gonna ask where the body is. You
Yeah,
can't
see,
leave-
he knows.
You can't leave visible flesh with
For a
bruise on
purpose
the
such as
bodies
this,
of the victims.
the basement was well tailored. Its walls were loosely constructed and had lately been plastered throughout with a rough plaster, which the constant dampness of the basement had prevented from hardening. Moreover, in one of the walls was a hollow area caused by a false chimney or fireplace that had filled up and made to resemble the rest of the basement. I made no doubt that I could readily remove the bricks in this part, insert her corpse, and wall the hole up as before, so that no eye could detect anything suspicious. Oh, did he ever mention feeling bad about killing his wife?
No.
Did he mention feeling bad about killing the cat?
No.
He did.
Oh, yeah.
No, earlier in the story. He did at the beginning. Remember, he said, I feel bad about the cat thing, and he felt remorse for a minute. It bothered me the fact that he killed the cat, and he was like, oh, I feel a little bad. Okay, I'm over it. He kills his wife, and he was like, well, let's move on. And I'm like, he felt worse about the cat than he did his wife. Then again, we might figure out he has some issues. And in this calculation, I was not wrong. With a crowbar, I easily dislodged the bricks, and having carefully placed the body against the inner wall, I propped it in that position, while with little trouble I relaid the bricks and wall as it had originally stood. Having bought mortar, sand, and hair, I prepared a new plaster. By the way, that's how you make the plaster that goes into it. The hair helps keep everything together. In case you thought it was like extra creepy, it's like the actual recipe they used to make. So they don't use it nowadays because now we use like a special chemical. But back in the day, that's how you did walls. You would use human hair and put it into it. I prepared a new plaster which could not be distinguished from the old. And with this, I very carefully went over my fresh brickwork. When I had finished, I felt sure that it was perfect. The wall did not have the slightest appearance of having been broken. The rubbish on the floor was picked up with care. I looked around triumphantly and said to myself, here at least then my work has not been in vain. He's very proud of himself. My next step was to look for the beast which had been the cause of so much misery, for I had at length firmly resolved to put it to death. Had I been able to meet with it at the moment, there could have been no doubt of its fate. But it appeared that the crafty animal had been alarmed at the violence of my previous anger and had decided to hide because of my present mood. It's impossible to describe the deep and blissful sense of relief which the absence of the detested creature created in me. It did not come out again that night, and thus for one night at least since its introduction into the house, I soundly and calmly slept. Yes, I slept, even with the burden of murder upon my soul. Cat's gone. He feels better. Carter.
Quite unrealistic to build or to deconstruct and reconstruct an entire wall in a matter of what?
Couple
an
hours.
hour?
Well, they might not have had as nice a houses back then, so it's good. But don't worry, that's not going to come back to haunt him. The second and the third day passed, and still my tormentor came not. Once again, I breathed as a free man. The monster, in terror, had fled the house forever. I should behold it no more. My happiness was supreme. The guilt of my dark deed disturbed me very little. Some investigation into my wife's disappearance had been made, but these had been readily answered. Even a search for her had occurred, but of course, nothing was to be discovered. I looked upon my future freedom as entirely secure. Upon the fourth day of the assassination, the police came, very unexpectedly, into the house, and again made a thorough investigation of the house. I felt safe, however, in knowing they would never discover my place of concealment. The officers asked me to accompany them in their search, and they left no nook or corner unexplored, even the basement. The police were thoroughly satisfied and prepared to leave. The excitement in my heart was too strong to be restrained. I burned to say one word so that I could secretly gloat and yet also convince them of my guiltlessness. So I've created a little Brovicast to help us finish out this last bit. So you have the policeman in the house. This is the main speaker right here. And then this is the wall area where he has buried his wife behind him. So at this point, the police have come in. They've searched the house. They've found nothing anywhere in the entire house. But he's feeling a little bit sassy, as you tend to do. "Gentlemen," I said at least, as the cops climbed the steps, "I am happy to have dispelled your suspicions. I wish you all good health. By the by, gentlemen, this is a very well-constructed house." In the rabid desire to say something easily, I scarcely knew what I was uttering at all. "I may say an excellently constructed house. These walls..." Are you going already, gentlemen? No, these walls are solidly put together. And here, through the mere act of daring, I knocked heavily with a cane, which I held in my hand, upon that very portion of the brickwork behind which stood the corpse of my wife. So to sass the cops, he goes to where his wife is and knocks on the wall. And it's like, "Look how sturdy this house is. There's nothing behind these walls. Perfectly safe. But may God shield and deliver me from the fangs of the evil beast." No sooner had the echoes of my blows sunk into silence than I was answered by a voice from within the tomb, by a cry at first muffled and broken like the sobbing of a child, and then quickly swelling into one long, loud, continuous scream, utterly abnormal and inhuman. A howl, a wailing shriek, half of horror, half of triumph, such as might have arisen only out of a nightmare, conjointly from the throats of the cursed in their agony and of the demons that exult in their eternal torture. Bangs on wall, wall starts screaming. From behind the wall.
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear it.
As to my own thoughts, it is silly to speak of them. Swooning, I staggered to the opposite wall. For one instant, the policemen upon the stairs remained motionless, frozen by their terror and awe. In the next, a dozen strong arms were tearing at the wall. It fell quickly. The corpse, already greatly decayed and clotted with gore, stood erect before the eyes of the crowd. And upon the corpse's head, with its gaping red mouth and solitary eye of fire, sat the hideous beast whose acts had seduced me into murder and whose powerful voice will send me to the hangman. I had walled the monster up within the tomb. And that's where our story ends. So it was not the wife screaming. It was the kitty cat. Well, that's how he described it. I tried to go right along with it. The muffled and broken, the sobbing of a child swelling into one long, loud, continuous scream. Utterly abnormal. So, I mean, he probably thought it was the wife, but I'm guessing it was the spooky little kitty cat that was in there that was sort of coming out. Hey, Lynn!
Do you think that Edgar Allan Poe, do you think he was just super creative and smart, or do you think he actually had some problems and that's why all of his stories are so weird and creepy?
It's probably a little bit of A and a whole lot of B. I think he probably had some problems which allowed that creativity to kick in. I mean, Stephen King is the same way, but he also has problems and he's come right out and said it. So I think problems help create creativity. That's why I'm so creative. Still off.
So I think Edgar Allan Poe has a thing of putting people in walls.
Yeah, because there's another story he did that. Yeah, he's done more than one walling people up thing. He found the idea fascinating that used to be a torture that they used to do way back in the old days. And so I think he was sort of inspired him.
Believe.
Right, Carter.
What did he say?
I don't know.
Are you gonna tell us? why
And
you
Sam.
like your show?
I'm just saying. Edgar Allan Poe went missing mysteriously for a week and then he was found dead. This story might have to do with it. This is an autobiography.
Right. And so we have to the end, we have him get found, and we have there to the... So now we know, why is he in the felon cell?
He killed his wife.
He killed his wife. Why is he going to die tomorrow?
Because
Because he killed his wife. See, I told you it was a happy ending to the story. You guys were all worried that he was going to get away with it. No, he's going to die. Oh yeah, sorry, if I shock people. Ah! So foreshadowing clues in stories you guys start to figure out as we went into it. The very beginning tells the reader that he's going to die tomorrow. What is that foreshadowing? That something, basically the idea is we get into it and all these things happening with the cat, that it's going to end with his death. That's why it starts and opens at the very beginning with, I'm going to die tomorrow, and then lists all these crazy things. He names the cat Pluto. Why was that foreshadowing?
Death.
And then what happens at the very end?
Death.
And then both the cat and the wife and the guy, all of them experience death. Hence the Pluto becomes our foreshadowing.
Well, if the cat was screaming.
The wife thinks the black cats might be witches. How is that supposed to be foreshadowing?
Because the cat actually stayed alive.
And so, is cat number 2 the same one as Mr. Winkyface?
Yeah.
If it was a witch, maybe not. That's why he goes, he's like, I don't know if these were just random things that happened or if it was actually a spooky thing that happened. All I can do is explain to you, these are the things that happened to me. You make your decision from there. But it definitely connects back the idea of the black cats being these powerful witchy things. He tells us he's speaking from his felon cell. You guys have answered that one too. And then the cat's white spot turns into a gallows. Why is that foreshadowing?
Because he is going to get hanged.
Because he's going to get hung, and then of course, because it feels like it is both a flashback and a foreshadowing. It's a foreshadow back, which I think is the thing I just made up. Anything else you guys noticed throughout story bits? No? Let's break down spooky story bits. Characters! I would say we have 3 main characters in story. One of them being,
The narrator.
works for me, we're going to call him Speaker or Dude. And then Taylin.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, do you think, like, if from the story, like, is it him, like, telling everyone, like, the story? I keep saying like, but it's like, but like, no, because he's like telling them the story, and then he's like telling, I give up.
I wasn't even making fun of you. I was just sitting there listening to you. You just harassed yourself.
Yeah.
All right, well, just like that. Then who else do we have besides Speaker?
The wife.
Wife.
I would say the wife, and then the third one would be,
Pluto.
say, Kitty Cat, the Pluto one. How would you describe Speaker in a way that does not connect to anyone else?
He's a speaker. Drunk.
Death man.
He's a human man. He's a human man.
I went for animal-loving alcoholic. And his wife?
Animal loving normal person.
But is she an alcoholic?
I said normal.
Ah, so that's where it comes in there. So you could. I went for patient wife. She has the bad luck of being with him and wanting to get a haircut. And then the black cat.
Evil.
Dead.
Okay.
Animal. Depends if it's the same cat or if it's 2 different cats. If it was the same cat the whole time and it was plaster on his chest, then maybe it's not a dead
Wait,
cat.
the wife was dead.
Maybe.
By the way, if you really want to be disturbed, how long was she in the wall before he was discovered?
4 days.
How long was the cat in the wall before it was discovered?
4 days.
How'd the cat stay alive?
It has
Ate the corpse.
Oh.
Cats do that all the time. If you have a cat and you die, cats will eat your corpse.
So then, for our setting,
That's how it works. That's a common
And the
fact.
brain juice.
That's a common fact. Cats will eat your corpse
Dylan.
if you die.
This reminds me of this. If you die and like you live with your cats, they will end up eating you.
well, yeah, they're hungry. You don't want to be mean to them. When does our story take place?
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Half of that was correct.
The galaxy far.
I went for 9 times because that seemed when most of the things were occurring, and then I threw in your long time ago. For the where?
Basement.
The basement I would count.
A house.
House.
Bar.
You're starting to hear
Back then? Oh, I guess I put jail at the end on that one. Dylan,
What about the bar?
you can probably count that one too. I put jail on there because he's telling the story from that one, but I might do bar, might be a better location. So, internal conflict. Speaker has a lot of choices to make in stories. What decision would you say?
Kill people or not those.
What was that?
No, he's not.
Yeah, that's a
Give
swear
them
word.
something.
Couldn't hear you, Globetrotter, over here.
I said kill people or don't.
Did you call him a globetrotter?
Globetrotter, you're not loud enough.
That's
Kill people or don't kill people.
I'm sorry, Globetrotter. Do you not know that don't is a contraction of 2 words?
Wait, he's not a globetrotter.
Oh, he is if he keeps using the word not.
He said don't. Oh.
Right, because don't is a contraction of?
Do not.
Right, so that's why I had to throw a Globetrotter. But I'm proud of you, Trumpet King on the kitchen. So I'll agree with kill cat or.
Why can't we
Look.
Oh, look at you guys figuring it out. Nicely done. I put ignore its creepiness. How about wife?
Married, stay married or get divorced.
That one I would count. She's already married to him as far as the story goes. But to stay with him, I would count. Ooh, nicely done. Or
Get a divorce.
Wait.
Run away.
kill him.
stop the X or let him kill cat?
Yeah, I count that one too. And then external conflict, when things are fighting each other.
A speaker and everyone who's in front of him while he has an axe.
And how would you write that correctly so it would not have to globetrotter you?
Versus.
So now put it all together.
Speaker versus everyone who's in front of him while he has an axe.
Yeah, I'll go with the cat. That would work for me. But you also divide the speaker versus the wife and stuff like that too. Either one of those would work on some level. Let's see, let me go to plot. What happens at the very beginning? Perfect. And then at the very end?
He's caught.
He's the dead man.
He goes to
about to die
jail,
here.
everyone he knows dies.
Dead man.
We discovered the cat was inside the wall with his wife. That was the very last thing in the story that happened. That's when it ends with the screaming. The middle thing is he gets a new cat that looks very similar to the old one. So what would number 2 have to be?
He kills his first cat.
And then if number 3 is he gets a new cat that looks similar to the old one. And 5, we discovered the cat was inside the wall with his wife.
He kills his wife.
There you go. And fit of anger kills his
Takes a
wife.
look,
Aiming
maybe
for the
bring
cat,
that or
trying to give her a
something.
haircut.
I don't know, I feel like him
Well, his point
killing
of
his
view-
wife is
That's where the first person comes in, told him the viewpoint of the speaker, dude person. For the theme, what is it he should have learned?
Don't drink. Die.
That's what I was going to go with also. The idea of don't drink, the poor choices will destroy you because he went down the path of alcoholism. Apparently. Yeah, that's a good point. But is that internal conflict?
You're a globetrotter.
Right. No, it's a good try trying to sass me, but you have to listen to all the words out there. You can use not in your life. There's only one time you cannot use not, which is on internal
Or
conflict.
you could say,
That was adorable having you guys try to come at me though. Yeah.
If you get drunk, you get dumb.
If you get drunk.
Like, because the guy was an alcoholic, so he went to jail because of a cat. Because, yeah.
Sounds solid.
if you're drunk, don't pick up an axe.
Then for our the first part is of the mountain. And then let's see what we have. We have in a fit of anger, he attacks his wife with an axe. We discover the cat was in the wall the whole time. Speaker is an animal lover who's also an alcoholic. He buries his wife in the wall in order to hide her body. Speaker starts attacking the cat and suffering from those choices. Words are overrated. Apparently the cat disappeared.
he starts attacking
So
the.
figure out which one is your exposition. Huh?
Yeah.
No. Alright. After exposition is
Rising action.
we have yeah. I agree. After rising action is Let's try this one again. Alright, good job. And then of the last 2, we discovered the cat was in the wall the whole time, and he buries his wife in the wall in order to hide her body. Which one's going to be our falling action? Alright, go you guys. And then the last thing is, go you guys want. Yay. Then, as far as the Charles story goes, which is on the blue sheet, my goal is that at this point you should be properly trained. I think we only have like 1 or 2 more big stories left, and then we're done with short stories. And my goal is that you should be properly trained and educated as far as the whole story thing goes. Tomorrow we'll give you one small little practice one with the story, and then quiz on Friday. Run away!